The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty held its 18th summit virtually this Monday. The United States Electoral College has formally designated Joe Biden as U.S. President-elect. President of the Ivory Coast, Alassane Outtara, has been sworn in for a third term. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty, or ALBA-TCP, held its 18th summit of heads of state and government virtually this Monday. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro offered the opening speech of the summit, noting that it was being held on the 60th anniversary of the founding of the bloc by the then presidents of Cuba and Venezuela, Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez, originally known as the Bolivarian Alternative for the Peoples of Our America. ALBA is a bloc advocating regional integration based on an anti-neoliberal, solidary and popular alternative, which over the course of the years has been transformed into an alliance for the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. The 18th summit saw the welcome reintegration of Bolivia to the alliance. Heads of state and government offered a series of statements and proposals regarding means to activate the different councils of the regional bloc from 2021 onwards, with the objective of advancing a concrete agenda for economic development and social progress. Leaders and delegates also discussed the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the cooperation developed between member states to protect their populations and ensure economic recovery.
We face many challenges ahead. The first challenge is to confront, control, and overcome the pandemic. The challenge of the ALBA vaccine, of the vaccination of our people, of the preventive and curative treatments, of the control of the pandemic in the ALBA territory, and with that, of the control of the pandemic in cooperation with all of Latin America and the Caribbean, and with our brothers of the world.
And the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, also noted that the second great challenge facing the Bolivarian Alliance is its economic recovery, following the wide-ranging effects of the United States economic attacks and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
A second major challenge that is always present is economic recovery, as many of our economies have suffered devastating economic attacks based on brutal sanctions by the U.S. empire. After the economic devastation that Bolivia suffered with the coup a year ago, after the economic blows that have been suffered as a result of the pandemic across the world, a great challenge is our economic recovery through joint efforts.
Meanwhile, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel extended his condolences to the Central American nations who were hit by the recent hurricanes Eta and Iota.
Allow me to convey my deepest condolences to the peoples and governments of the sister nation of Central America recently impacted by devastating hurricanes. We deeply regret the damage caused and reiterate our solidarity.
Likewise, the Cuban president ratified his government's support to the government and people of Nicaragua, who have also suffered the consequences of the unilateral sanctions imposed by the United States government.
I ratify today the firm support to the brotherly Nicaraguan people that under the leadership of the Sandinista National Liberation Front and the leadership of Commander Daniel Ortega Saavedra have defended with dignity the notable achievements made in recent years, in spite of the threats of sanctions and interference of the United States government. Sandino's homeland can count on the friendship and unconditional commitment of the Cuban people and its revolution under any circumstances.
And we're now going to go live to statements by US President-elect Joe Biden.
It's free and it was fair. They saw it with their own eyes, and they wouldn't be bullied into saying anything different. It was truly remarkable, because so many of these patriotic Americans are subject to so much, enormous political pressure, verbal abuse, and even threats of physical violence. While we all wish that our fellow Americans in these positions will always show such courage and commitment to free and fair elections, it is my sincere hope we never again see anyone subjected to the kind of threats and abuse we saw in this election. It's simply unconscionable. We owe these public servants a debt of gratitude. They didn't seek the spotlight. And our democracy survived because of them, which is proof, once more, that it's everyday Americans infused with honor, character, and decency that is the heart of this nation. You know, in this election, their integrity was matched by their strength, independence, and the integrity of our judicial system. In America, when questions are raised about the legitimacy of any election, those questions are resolved through the legal processes. And that's precisely what happened here. The Trump campaign brought dozens and dozens and dozens of legal challenges to test the result. They were heard again and again. And each of the time they were heard, they were found to be without merit. Time and again, President Trump's lawyers presented arguments to state officials, state legislatures, state and federal courts, and ultimately to the United States Supreme Court twice. They were heard by more than 80 judges across this country, and in every case, no cause or evidence was found to reverse or question or dispute the results. A few states went for recounts. All the counts were confirmed. The results in Georgia were counted 3 times. Didn't change the outcome. The recount conducted in Wisconsin actually saw our margin grow. The margin we had in Michigan was 14 times the margin President Trump won that state by 4 years ago. Our margin in Pennsylvania was nearly twice the size of the Trump margin 4 years ago. And yet, none of this has stopped baseless claims about the legitimacy of the results. Even more stunning, 17 Republican attorneys general and 126 Republican members of the Congress actually signed on to a lawsuit filed by the state of Texas. That lawsuit asked the United States Supreme Court to reject the certified vote counts in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. This legal maneuver was an effort by elected officials and one group of states to try to get the Supreme Court to wipe out the votes of more than 20 million Americans in other states, and to hand the presidency to a candidate who lost the Electoral College, lost the popular vote, and lost each and every one of the states whose votes they were trying to reverse. It's a position so extreme, we've never seen it before. A position that refused to respect the will of the people, refused to respect the rule of law, and refused to honor our Constitution. Thankfully, a unanimous Supreme Court immediately and completely rejected this effort. The court sent a clear signal to President Trump that there would be no part of an unprecedented assault on our democracy. Every single avenue was made available to President Trump to contest the results. He took full advantage of each and every one of those avenues. President Trump was denied no course of action he wanted to take. He took his case to Republican governors and Republican Secretary of State, as he criticized many of them, to Republican state legislatures, to Republican-appointed judges at every level. And in a case decided after the Supreme Court's latest rejection, a judge appointed by President Trump wrote, quote, "This court has allowed the plaintiff the chance to make his case, and he has lost on the merits." End of quote. Lost on the merits. Even President Trump's own cybersecurity chief, overseeing our elections, said it was the most secure election in American history, and summarily was let go. Let me say it again. His own cybersecurity chief, overseeing this election, said it was the most secure in American history. You know, respecting the will of the people is at the heart of our democracy, even when we find those results hard to accept. But that's the obligation of those who've taken on a sworn duty to uphold the Constitution. 4 years ago, when I was a sitting vice president of the United States, it was my responsibility to announce the tally of the Electoral College votes in the joint session of Congress that voted to elect Donald Trump. I did my job. And I'm pleased, but not surprised, by the number of my former Republican colleagues in the Senate who have acknowledged already the results of the Electoral College. I thank them, and I'm convinced we can work together for the good of the nation on many subjects. That's the duty owed to the people, to our Constitution, to our history. You know, in this battle for the soul of America, democracy prevailed. We, the people, voted. Faith in our institutions held. The integrity of our elections remains intact. And now it's time to turn the page, as we've done throughout our history, to unite, to heal. As I said in this campaign, I will be president for all Americans. I'll work just as hard for those of you who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did. There's urgent work in front of us. Getting this pandemic under control and getting the nation vaccinated against this virus. Delivering immediate economic help so badly needed by so many Americans who are hurting today. And then building our economy back better than it ever was. In doing so, we need to work together to give each other a chance to lower the temperature. And most of all, we need to stand in solidarity as fellow Americans, to see each other, our pains, our struggles, our hopes, and our dreams. We're a great nation. We're good people. We may come from different places, hold different beliefs, but we share in common a love for this country, a belief in its limitless possibilities. For we, the United States of America, has always set the example for the world for a peaceful transition of power. We'll do so again. I know the task before us won't be easy. It's tempered by the pain so many of us are feeling. Today, our nation passed a grim milestone, 300,000 deaths due to this COVID virus. My heart goes out to each of you in this dark winter of the pandemic, about to spend the holidays and the new year with a black hole in your hearts, without the ones you loved at your side. My heart goes out to all of you who have fallen in hard times through no fault of your own, unable to sleep at night, staring at the ceiling, and weighed down by the worry of what tomorrow will bring for you, and equally important for your family. But we've faced difficult times before in our history. I know we'll get through this one, but together. That's how we get through it, together. So as we start the hard work to be done, may this moment give us the strength to rebuild this house of ours upon a rock that can never be washed away. As in the prayer of St. Francis, for where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. This is who we are as a nation. This is the America we love. And that is the America we're going to be. So thank you all. May God bless you. And may God protect our troops and all those who stand watch over our democracy. Thank you.
And we've been hearing there the live statements of President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden, after he was formally designated President-elect of the United States this Monday by the Electoral College. And we continue with our program. President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, who was speaking at the ALBA summit this Monday, ratified the commitment of the Bolivian people and government to the principles of the ALBA-TCP as the country returned to the bloc after the de facto government of Jeanine Áñez forced the exit of the country from the instrument of regional integration.
On October 18, as everyone knows, the Bolivian people at the polls put an end to the neoliberal and fascist coup. And in our country, the time for the recovery of democracy, hope, dignity, and the integration of peoples returned. We returned to the ALBA-TCP, and now we reaffirm our commitment to its principles of solidarity, cooperation, complementarity, mutual respect for the sovereignty of our countries, justice, equity, respect for cultural diversity, and harmony with nature, which position it as a reference and fundamental instrument for revolutionary and progressive process in the world.
The United States Electoral College has formally designated Joe Biden as U.S. President-elect. California's 55 Electoral College votes formally pushed Democrat Joe Biden across the finish line in the presidential election, based on the results of the much-contested November 3rd vote. Mainstream media proclaimed Biden the winner over a month ago after he pulled ahead of President Donald Trump in 4 battleground states the night after the election, thanks to large numbers of mail-in ballots. This Monday's vote in the Electoral College formalises those results as slates of electors designated by states to validate the popular vote results met across the United States. The Sputnik-V COVID-19 vaccine developed by Russia has entered phase 3 clinical trials, showing more than 90% efficacy after the first dose was administered. The Gamaleya Center, the institute in charge of developing the vaccine, highlighted that the effectiveness of Sputnik-V is 91.4% after clinical evaluations during 21 days on over 22,700 volunteers. The studies were carried out among high-risk populations in Moscow, as well as health workers. To date, the National Center for Research in Epidemiology and Microbiology has received orders for 1.2 billion vaccine doses to be distributed in 50 countries. And Russia on Monday conducted a second launch of its new heavy-class Angara rocket, the first developed after the fall of the Soviet Union, nearly 6 years after its maiden voyage. Space agency Roscosmos announced that the next-generation Angara A5 rocket had been successfully launched from northern Russia at 5:50 GMT. The only other launch of the heavy-class rocket took place in late December 2014, while a test of a lighter-class version of the rocket was conducted in July that year. The aim is to replace the Proton rockets that date back to the 1960s and have suffered a series of failures in recent years. President Vladimir Putin hopes the new launchers will revive Russia's space industry and reduce reliance on other countries. In France, a few hundred hotel and restaurant professionals gathered in Paris to protest against the closure of their establishments from the end of October until January 20th, 2021. The French central bank said on Monday that it expects the country's economy to recover more slowly than previously thought and return to its pre-pandemic level only in mid-2022. France has been swept by a second wave of the novel coronavirus that prompted authorities to reintroduce restrictions on movement and the closure of certain businesses. That provoked an 11% drop in activity in November compared to the same month last year, with activity expected to be 8% lower in December, given the partial relaxation of confinement measures adopted by the government for the holiday period. Despite the foreseen recovery in the economy, the central bank expects unemployment to jump higher as firms which have so far held on finally collapse. It expects unemployment to jump to 11% during the first quarter of 2021 and fall to 9% by the end of 2022. France's unemployment rate was around 8% using international survey methods before the pandemic hit Europe at the end of the first quarter of this year. This Monday, German pharmaceutical company CureVac announced the beginning of clinical trials of a COVID-19 vaccine. With the official registration of the first participant of this decisive phase 2B3 of the retroviral tests against COVID-19, CureVac will gradually pass to phase 3, evaluating progressively and during 1 year the results of the injection. For this trial, more than 35,000 people over 18 years old have been recruited in Europe and Latin America. The German lab has been working on the immunology of COVID-19 since January 2020. Spanish Health Minister Salvador Illa announced this Monday that the process of immunization against COVID-19 in the country will begin in the first week of January. The minister assured that once the European Agency of Medicine grants permissions for the vaccine, the process will begin in Spain. He noted that the vaccination process should begin on the 4th or 5th of January, and the country aspires to have 140 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine then. Health personnel, as well as the population that has been most exposed to the pandemic, will be the first to receive the vaccine, and it's expected to have been applied to all the population by August. European Union officials said on Monday there is a window of opportunity to work together with the United States, China and Japan to fight climate change.
Towards COP26 and countries around the world are considering their level of ambition. Climate and energy diplomacy will take center stage. Climate action is gathering momentum. China, South Korea, Japan and other countries have recently announced climate neutrality objectives. If the US makes a similar commitment, about 2/3 of the global economy and more than a half of the world's emissions would be covered. With the incoming Biden administration, there is a real opportunity to create a genuine partnership on climate change and extend our work together to new years.
This Monday, several Google services presented operational problems worldwide. YouTube, Gmail and Google Drive presented problems globally. Users of the websites from different parts of the world reported through social media the unavailability of services. Although the sites have been gradually restored, the reasons for the glitches are unknown. A nurse in New York became the first person in the United States to receive the coronavirus vaccine this Monday. Sandra Lindsay, a critical care nurse at the Long Island Jewish Medical Center, received the Pfizer-BioNTech shot live on television shortly before 9:30 a.m. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, watching the landmark moment via video link, told Lindsay he hoped the vaccine would give her and other frontline healthcare workers a sense of security and safety. He noted it's going to take months before the vaccine hits critical mass, so this is the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a long tunnel, and reminded people to keep following social distancing guidelines. COVID-19 has ravaged the United States, where more than 299,000 people have been killed by the virus, including over 35,000 residents of New York State. And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.